Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Quick question. Are you positioned for success when you are seeking strategic execution of your plans, whether they be for business, day job, or even your personal matters? According to an IBM study done in 2010, so that was about 13 years ago at this point, they found that most CEOs in that study did not feel ready for increasing complexities of their business and the projects that were happening. Do you feel ready? What if you could learn how to possibly easily navigate that potentially perilous domain? Hi, my name is Cassandra. If you don't know me, I am a software engineer, program director, events manager. I've held several different positions, maybe not the titles, but I've done a lot in my career that I'm really excited about, and I want to share with you in the hopes that it may help you navigate your career better, whether in business or with a day job. So I do that by breaking down my knowledge, usually in programming, digital marketing, and now in strategic execution. A little bit newer on that part, but what is something I did realize this week, I'll share in a moment, that really makes me feel super excited to share. So if you want to connect, definitely do on whatever platform it is. So little bit of backstory into why I'm sharing with this information with you today. So I do currently work at an amazing company. I also have my own business, and I am constantly looking for ways to empower others for greater success. So when I had the opportunity to start pursuing a certification with the Duke Fuqua, I hope I said it correctly, School of Business, I jumped on it because what they're teaching in this certification, which I'll go into in just a minute, is absolutely necessary in the changing waters of business and everything that's happening in the world, right? So I want to share with you a little bit about what I learned and hopefully allow you to learn some things that you can take away into your own projects and things like that. So first of all, what exactly is this about? Who's Duke Fuqua School of Business, blah, blah, blah. Well, the certification, AESP, I think it's AESP, the Advanced Strategic Execution Program of Duke. It was created by Duke CE, or the corporate education part of the Duke Fuqua School of Business, and they partnered with Corn Ferry, I believe, a management consulting firm, in order to bring this opportunity to life. I think it's been around since 2018, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But basically, what they found is that about 1/5 of economic activity every year, which is anywhere from, it's like they found to be $12 trillion, right, are organized as projects. Think about what you do in your day job, in your business, or even with your own home initiatives. Are they projects? Are they like these big things that you have to break down into tinier pieces to make sure you complete everything, right? So think about what that looks like for you now, how that looked like for you maybe even a couple years ago before you had your own patterns and processes. But over the next 10 years, what might that look like for you? The Corn Ferry and Duke found that over the next 10 years, organizations were expecting 68% increase in their project work. That's a lot. And it can be very hard to do when you've got deadlines approaching and not enough planning time, et cetera, right? And what Duke has proposed, and what I'm sure many other School of Business and things have said as well, is that advancing today requires more than just your project management skills. It requires adaptive thinking, adaptive mindset, and skill sets at all levels, not just the people who are making all the plans, but also the people who are implementing them, right? Because you might get from a manager, hey, I want you to accomplish this task, and they don't tell you how to do it. You got to figure it out yourself, right? So you've got to have that adaptive mindset at all levels. The Adaptive Strategic Execution Program, or ASEP, equips project leaders, and really any leader, with an adaptive mindset, tool set, and skill sets to execute, let's look at my notes here, to execute strategy in a volatile world. And it is increasingly volatile. What's happened in the last even 10 years of our life? Major worldwide problems all over the place, right? Everything is becoming much more complex, and a lot of chaos and uncertainty. Now, since their launch, oh, here it is. Since their launch in May 2017, they've had over 6,500 people take at least one course. I'm not quite sure how many have completed, but of the people that have taken their courses, or this program rather, they found that 93% 93% of the learners who took it said that it was a worthwhile investment in their careers. Now, I've taken one class so far, and I plan on completing my certification with this. And I can agree that it was definitely worth my time and investment, even if I had paid for it directly and not through the wonderful and generous opportunities that Cisco provides for their employees. Now, the goals, a couple of goals of this particular program are to transform behaviors with practical tools that give you not spreadsheets, but templates for you to use and to kind of help hash out your thinking and things like that. And it's also it gives you an opportunity to have prestigious, what are they called? Uh, Credentials. There we go. Prestigious credentials from the Duke Fuqua School of Business. So you not only do you get the certificate, but you could put on your signatures that you have whatever it is, credentials, blah blah, right? So cool stuff there on top of the ability to be adaptive and very agile in your way of thinking. So this is a certification program that has 8 possible courses, and only 6 of them you have to take. So there's 2 required ones. The first one that I took, which was this week, was one of the required ones, but then there's 4 of 6 other classes that are not required. I mean, 4 of them are required, but they're all basically elective. So you can choose which ones that you want to approach from there. So some key features about this program, right? They make sense of the complex, right? They help you kind of navigate between the different phases and things like that, which I'll go into in just a moment. They help you better manage your stakeholder relationships, whether they're new or ongoing. It helps you not have a default thinking process and who you're talking to, but it helps you kind of take a step back and see like the bigger picture about who needs to be involved with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. This program also allows you to kind of reduce the gap in your strategy execution performance. So maybe you're missing deadlines. Maybe you are experiencing burnout with your team because they just can't get all the things done, right? So these are ways with which to eliminate some of those gaps in your execution. It also allows you to provide, or allows you to integrate design thinking in this process. Now, design thinking I heard about several years ago, and the first time that I was at Cisco, this is my 3rd round, and I was fascinated by it. It is an amazing opportunity to learn how to bring in humans, like how humans think, and make it so that things are just more flexible and include more people and allow you to get more out of what you're trying to accomplish. It's something that I still don't yet have the ability to verbalize, but I feel is so important. And everything that I learned about design thinking, I try to implement in what I'm doing because it makes sense, and I've seen the results in my own personal strategy. More about what the ASEP certification does is that it helps you optimize your strategy execution. So again, it gives you frameworks, it gives you ideas and ways to tease out what you need to accomplish. It allows you to deliver optimal business value because you're going to be able to express what you need to get done. You're going to be able to collaborate with other teams. And in that, you're also going to be able to build diverse strategy execution teams because as you learn this, you're going to be able to teach your teams, implement it in your own planning and execution initiatives, things like that. And as I've kind of already mentioned, it helps you to drive and influence change required to execute. Humans generally don't like change. And when you are introducing change in a process or something like that, people can be really hesitant or even aggressive about that change. So one of the things that you want to accomplish when you're looking to make these types of changes occur is making sure people feel heard, that they're a part of the process, and it's not an immediate, hey, this is the way you're going to be doing things now. You're integrating their feedback and you're doing it a step at a time. You're not overwhelming people. So that is the key features of this program. And I wanted to share a little bit of the overview for this specific class. So as I said, you have to do 6 of 8 classes. This one is one of the required ones, and it's called Making Sense of Complexity. So with that, it is, sorry, I'm making sure there's no chat. So with that, basically you're able to identify different contexts, right? The CONTEXT, different context when you're in different situations. So whether they are complicated versus complex, which I will cover in just a second, you're able to, in this class, identify your possible responses to navigate these said complexities in their own context. You're able to identify dangers and pitfalls and when you are or that are preventing you from responding to what you feel is a potential solution to the problems that you have addressed. It allows you to demonstrate how internal and external contexts, just things that are happening, right, in which we work have become more complex, right? So, for example, the way that we work. Prior to 2020, we mostly worked in an in-person type of interaction for most jobs, and now it's a smorgasbord of hybrid options. And so that comes with its own opportunities for growth. It also, this course, the specific class, provides models and tools and practices. So, like, if you just things to help you strengthen your ability to have strategic execution, and this allows you to recognize and manage the different foci that create that complexity that you're working on. It also allows you, as I mentioned before, to not improve, but expand your mindset, your skill set, and everything that you need to be a leader of project-based work that will allow you to successfully navigate the complexity and get the work done that you need to accomplish, because most big things can't be done by one person, right? So collaboration is really, really essential. So here are some lessons that I learned from this class. One of those being that, well, actually, I didn't have it in my notes here, but I want to share with you that one of those is that whatever data you get, you want to be kind of a scientist about it. You want to ask questions. You don't want to just take it at face value, and make sure that when you do your research that you're going to credible places. But for example, there was a study that they shared. I shared a little bit about it earlier. It was a 2010 study, and the percentages there were pretty shocking. And imagine what that could have looked like, you know, 13 years after. So sometimes they may get worse, sometimes they may get better, but you need to really be cognizant of the data that you're taking in before you're making decisions, because the data may be outdated, it may be inaccurate, any number of things, but you have to be really careful about that data. This course also basically shared that project-based work is increasing complexity, which I shared earlier, right? We've got more people working from home. We've got issues with supply chain. We've got issues with things happening in our actual planet. But when it comes to projects, when it comes to complex project failure, there are two reasons that any project really fails. And the first is reprioritization, and the second is a change in strategy. Now, I'm not saying, and neither did they say, that you should not reprioritize and have a change in strategy if it's necessary. But too often, people don't make enough time to plan. They don't consider all the different stakeholders, any number of reasons that they then have to have fires and emergencies all over the place, and then have to reprioritize what they needed to, and then change their strategy to do this. And next thing you know, you've got things changing every month, maybe every week. I hope not, but I've been in that situation and it's awful. So those are two reasons that can be easily avoided if you have the strategies and mindsets and skill sets that are shared in things like this. So these contexts, what are they? So according to this, and they gave a whole bunch of materials that I'm going to be sharing over on this website right here. So if you go to prosperousheart.com/strategy-execution, this is where I'm going to be putting this video right here and any other additional materials with which I hope will be helpful to you. The materials aren't there just yet, but the page is there with some additional information. So be sure to check back probably no later than tomorrow for more of that. But yeah, so I'm going to share with you the four operating contexts right now. And so they are simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen just a second. So this course, it talked about what are they, which I just mentioned, how to determine which one is applicable with your current situation, derailers, things that are going to get you off course, and how to avoid them, as well as how to navigate between those contexts, because you're not always in complex. As you start figuring things out, you're going to eventually go to complicated, right? And eventually to simple. So things just kind of navigate between, because we're in an always changing world, right? So let's go ahead and show you my version of what was shared in this class. So as you can see on the screen here, this is done in Miro, by the way. This is one of my favorite tools, which is also linked on this URL that I shared with you earlier, right? So what you see on the screen is kind of a visual reference of what I learned about in this class. So on the x-axis, the one that's horizontal, you see the outcome predictability. So on the left-hand side, you have, this is left, yeah, on the left-hand side, you have high outcome predictability. You are fairly certain that you know exactly what's going to happen. And it moves to the right side where it's low outcome predictability, where you're not really sure what's going to happen, right? And then on the y-axis, up and down, you have the high environmental certainty. So you are certain of the environment. You know what's going on, all the way to low certainty for your environmental certainty. And that is, oh my gosh, I don't know this environment. I don't know what's going on. I'm just so lost. So that's the structure here. And the first one we have is simple. So it's high outcome predictability, high environmental certainty, and it's simple. It's a process. If I do this, then this thing happens. So in the example that they used throughout explaining this chart, it was flying, right? So the first one is check engine pre-flight. That is a step in your process. It's very simple. You know the outcome, you know the certainty, you're good. The next step is a little bit less outcome predictability. I mean, you pretty much know what's going on. It's a process. You've got the you've got the plans for it, and it's a little less environmental sort of certainty, but you have the processes, and that's flying a plane in this example. And that can have all kinds of things. Where if, let's say, you lose an engine, you've got a process for that. Let's say you lose air pressure, you've got a process for that. It's complicated, but it's not complex because you have a process. You know what's going to be happening. The next one is complex. This is where you have even less outcome predictability. You have even less environmental certainty. This could be, you've got a bunch of different projects going on and a lot of different people coming at you telling you, hey, I really need this thing over here. We've got this fire over here. Well, in the terms of flying, a complex context might be air traffic control emergency. Maybe I can't remember the gentleman's name, but there was a pilot where he lost both engines at the same time. They were hit by some geese, and you now have an air traffic control emergency, right? So it's complex. There's stuff going on. You still kind of have the processes. You're not really sure exactly what's going on. Maybe you've got fires, right? That's complex. The next one's chaotic. You're dealing with a volcanic eruption. There's stuff going everywhere. You are just kind of flying by the seat of your pants, right? So that is, in a nutshell, the 4 operating contexts that was shared in this class. So I really loved the different graphs and things that they shared. I love the TED videos and things like that. They really had an immersive experience for you when you're learning about these concepts and procedures. So again, I'll share those on that blog article that you still see right there. So I shared the 4 operating contexts. They also provided, as I mentioned, tools and methods for applying in different situations, right? Because you don't always apply the same thinking process in a simple or, excuse me, complicated position that you would in a complex or chaotic one. You also learn ways to improve complicated decision making and its challenges, confirmation versus availability bias, what that is, and where you can try to remove it when you're in complicated contexts. So confirmation bias is you will find information that is like what you're looking for, right? If you want to say the sky is blue, you will find facts to prove that it's blue. If it's green, I don't know how you'll do it, but you'll find facts to make that happen. Availability bias is where you just see it all the time. So maybe you see all the time that nobody buys during Christmas, like for business stuff. Nobody buys during the holidays. Well, maybe that's what you see, but that may not be the reality, and it usually isn't, at least in that instance. So confirmation versus availability bias, and how to try to remove that from different contexts. And they also introduced what I'm going to call a new leadership model for me, and it's PSC, perceiving, sense making, and choreography. Now, the way that you can kind of see this in your visual eye is perceiving. You are reframing what you see. So you may be coming coming towards a problem in one way. But if you take a step back and you ask different questions, and maybe you include your stakeholders, and you maybe have a workshop, which is one of my favorite things, you just reframe what you see so you can gather more data, right? So you can have a bigger possibility of avoiding default thinking, right? This is how I am and how I know of things, versus including what other experiences might be able to help you overcome bias for. Now, with sense making, you're making sense of things, right? You are rewiring how you think. Now, with that, when you are rewiring the way that you think and you're making sense of things, you are uncovering patterns, which apparently that's something that's like just something I do all the time. So you uncover patterns and you generate insights, and you do that by identifying, testing, and validating the different paths that you are choosing to progress down for whatever it is, the project or initiative that you're trying to accomplish. So that's what sense making is. You're gathering data, you're making sense of things, and you're creating that story so that you can make wiser decisions and faster decisions. And then last but not least, the third part of that leadership model is choreography, which is reconfiguring what you do. So how you interact with people. You're reducing direct control of your, excuse me, you're reducing direct control, which means you have less hands working on it, you directly, and you're doing that by expanding your sphere of influence. You are inspiring other people to get on this thing with you and make this thing happen. You are tapping into other people's desires and needs so that you guys can collaborate together and come to a strategic execution of that project, initiative, etc. So that was the leadership model in a nutshell. Now, how I've shared a whole bunch about this program. How does it actually benefit my day job? How does it apply to things outside of my day job? So in my current day job, I do a lot, and I work with a lot of different people across many different teams. For example, I am leading some initiatives for developing, documenting, and implementing cross-team standards. I am helping to build out marketing and sales strategies for my team. I'm helping to navigate and improve current stakeholder relationships where I'm needed, of course, and where it makes sense. And then I'm also helping to build automated solutions for our customers as well as my whole team. Now, that's a lot, right? But I don't do it alone. I provide what is helpful for my team when it's needed and when they ask for it, right? Otherwise, I am also working through complex and I always forget that word, complicated, complicated and complex projects. We all do it. That's just how things are, right? So that's how it benefits my day job, right? It lets me tap into the things I'm already doing and find easier ways of doing that. So that way I'm making things easier and more efficient for my team, because that is what I was hired to do, or at least one of the many things. Now, how does that apply with my students or my clients outside of my day job, right? Because outside of my day job, I teach what I know. I teach about programming, digital marketing, strategic execution, workshopping, just whatever I feel would help somebody else navigate their career a little bit better, and maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that I've experienced. So how is this course going to help me do that? So as I mentioned, it allows me to have new ways to look at problems through different lenses. We all can use that, and by knowing that, I can share my own twist on things and maybe provide templates, right? Easier identification of challenges and solutions for the different initiatives that are going on. Tools to reframe perceptions, right? We talked about the sense making and to gain new insights. It allows you to also rapidly bring complex or chaotic projects into complicated solutions, right? So instead of like, I kind of know I need to do this thing, but I'm really nervous and we got deadlines and I don't know, and you have a process. You know what you're going to do, an idea about when you're going to get it done. So, and you can do that much faster in a more agile way. This course also allowed me to identify best progression paths, like what's the best way to go to accomplish said project. And that's done via insights and iterative experimentation. Too many people do not allow for that time to experiment. And the thing is that when you don't have a process, when you don't have something that you know, when you do X, this thing is going to happen, you have to experiment, and you have to recognize that that may take some time. So You just have to be iterative. You have to get that data and you have to keep going. It allows me and you in this course to more easily navigate shifts between the context as well as what happens when you are newly integrating process changes, as I mentioned earlier. I also said that I'm gonna be able to utilize all this knowledge in my own project planning, so I can do more in less time and less pulling out of hair, right? I can create more content like this that would be helpful for somebody, just like you, and expand my capacity for greater growth and add play to my coaching sessions, as I've mentioned. So there's a lot of really great things. And if you are able to, whether through your own investment in your education or through your company's investment in your education, I would highly suggest looking at these courses, and if you can, complete the certification. Otherwise, really look at what's available in the certification course and look at the classes that are most applicable to where you feel would benefit you the most. So I believe that's all for now. Yep, that's all my notes. So thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Cassandra. I I am so passionate about empowering others for success, and I do that by breaking down what I know into easy to understand bite-sized pieces, whether that's for technology or processes, whatever I feel could help benefit you. And again, if you go to this website right here, this video will be on there as well as some additional tools and things like that in the next day or so. So definitely do check it out. All right, thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.